sir. No question, sir. I was asked this question by some non-MDs. He said that you told me last time when we met that we got all the answers in the Holy Quran. And then he was coming back on this. He said, can you answer this? He said, Islamic view about the unrest on the labor strikes in this country is causing a lot of trouble. If you can comment something or recommend something. I told him that there's a hadith sharif saying that...
Talk of the Holy Quran first.
Could you kindly please, yeah?
Huh?
Could you kindly explain your...
I've already explained it during my speeches on Adl. If you devise a just equitable system of distribution of wealth, then there can be no unrest of any sort. And then again, if you also give every class a code of conduct which is based on the concept of absolute morality, then there cannot be any unrest anywhere. Everything just fits into its own compartment and there is no friction caused. Friction is always the result of interference, not without it. It cannot be caused. Interference means when the movement of one part, whatever that part be, a social part or a material part, begins to interfere in the sphere of another moving part, then the friction is caused. And the friction by itself generates energy, which is most often a wasteful energy. Sometimes some devices are made on the principle of friction to harness the energy ultimately. That is a different thing altogether. But in moving parts, if you do not keep the motions in their own separate compartments without interfering with other parts, the friction will cause and ultimately burn up the machinery. So wherever in human systems, whatever the systems be, there are frictions. This is the fundamental reason. All other approaches are just superficial and meaningless. You must find out which part of that system has usurped the rights of other system. And that part should be stopped to that much, where it should not be permitted to interfere in the other's rights. If the answer is that you begin to enter into their sphere and usurp their rights, this will again cause some friction and it will go on and on. So what Islam has done is this, the Holy Quran itself, you don't have to go to other sources as yet. The Holy Quran is very clear that every class, every conceivable section of society has been given some rights, some prerogatives, and some obligations and duties. And they are so clearly laid down that if you remain within your sphere of movement, then no friction can be caused. Why does not this friction found at the time of the early Islamic period, at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself? The fact is, the greatest of those who offered their love and sacrifice to him were from among the labor class. Who were Ashab al-Sufa? They were sheer laborers who had absolutely nothing as capital to them. And these were those who offered their lives and their time and every comfort for the sake of Islam, and they loved Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much. Why? Because their rights were preserved, and they knew that they would find peace only in this system. So when later on the Muslim governments themselves started deviating from the Islamic principles and started permitting one section of the society exploit the other, then these frictions came back again, in some cases with greater vengeance. But Islam speaks very clearly of these things. Islam speaks of the laborer's right, of the master's right, of the mutual understanding, And those rights are so clearly laid down and are in fact so much inclined towards the poor, the cause of the poor, that a labor society in an Islamic system would be much better off than a communist labor anywhere in the communist world. This is just not a claim. This is something which you can prove like 2 and 2 make 4. The fact is that all that the communist system achieves is not the transfer of wealth from the rich to the poor. This is not what it does at all, anywhere. What it does is this, that it makes everyone laborer and dispossesses everyone of any individual property, with the result that the entire property of the state is not equally distributed. It is only controlled by a few who come through the party politics, which turns into a dictatorship ultimately. So all the resources of the state are left then in the hands of a few who have no moral standards, and they can dictate terms to any extent because they have become absolute rulers, because communism and absolute rule go hand in hand. One cannot survive without the other. It's impossible for communism to survive in a state where there is no absolute rule. This is why they are so cruel to those voices which are raised against them. Even solitary voices in great empires are feared, greatly feared by the communist world. Why? If communism is a philosophy which has been accepted through experience by the whole state, why should not you permit some scientist to raise the voice against the system? It's one of the greatest crimes, because they know that without absolute rule, communist philosophy cannot prosper. And why it cannot? Because what the communism achieves is not the distribution of equal wealth to everybody. The classes remain in operation. Only greater number of people become laborers without their own personal will and freedom and property. Everybody is turned into a propertyless person, at the mercy of a few who rise through the power of the party and that then begin to rule that party which was the source of their own power, mercilessly. And if they are not merciless, they cannot survive in this society. This is why Lenin had to be merciless, this is why Stalin had to be merciless, and this is why, according to their own observations, a communist leader who is not merciless, he cannot survive. So is this what you call labor-inclined system? In fact, labor has nothing left to itself. Why they are worse off, I can prove that as well. To some extent, if somebody is in a mood to listen to reason, he can be convinced of this. The fact is that in a free society, cruelties can be exercised against labor, no doubt. But where the government is different, this is not the ultimate possessor of the entire wealth, and the individual holders of property are different, then there is always a possibility of the laborers going to the government, raising their hue and cry against those individual parties and fighting for their rights. The government will be a third party then, not directly involved. So there is always a chance for the labor to fight for her right, to go for strikes, to go for public demonstrations against some cruel masters, against some cartel holders and against some capitalists, to a government which is not directly involved in that. And because of democracy, ultimately because they have to go to the laborers and the poor classes for their votes, so there will always be inclined to help their cause. But in a communist society, there is an absolute rule. All the laborers, in fact every citizen has been disinvested of its properties. The result is that you have to raise your hue and cry against the usurper, that is the government. And the government will not tolerate it. The result is, if they make a decision, they also see to it that no protest is made. Strikes are forbidden in the entire communist world. Poland experimented for a while, and you see what happened to Poland. So the Holy Quran does not claim a hollow system divorced from realities of life. The Holy Quran keeps in view the very human nature, the distortions which are ultimately acquired by human beings. Because nature is not distorted, distortions are later on acquired by wrongdoings. So Allah keeps all these factors in mind and gives you a teaching which would create balance. Balance in the society, the maximum freedom and the maximum compromise between individual freedom and the state's interference. This is Islamic system. The Holy Quran is very vocal on these things, but these are such issues as cannot be discussed in such short in such short times. But you can tell him with head held high up that the Holy Quran is very vociferous on these matters and doesn't leave any detail out.
Could you kindly give us some hadith on this as well? And there's the issue coming up in this country.
The best hadith about the laborers' rights, not one hadith, there's so many traditions of the Holy Prophet, establishing the laborers' rights, establishing the slaves' rights, the household servants' rights, and telling you so much so that you should give them the same food which you eat in your houses. Don't make any distinction. You should clothe them with something like your own clothing as well. And the words used are such that no equal distribution is exercised. Only it is demanded that give them also a taste of the food you eat, give them also a taste of the dress you wear, with the result that Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself practiced such kindness to his own servants that they were treated like sons. And this is a long story. We will speak of that later on sometimes. About Hazrat Ali, it is said that once he walked into a shop for buying, and there was a slave with him who was wearing a dress exactly like him, because he had received something from somewhere. He parted it in half, gave half to his slave and half he wore himself. And so it was difficult for the people to find out who was Ali and who was his slave, those who didn't know him. So he saw somebody important coming, people were turning to him and so on, but saw two people almost alike. So there's so many things which can be quoted in this regard. Then Hazur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us that before the perspiration of the laborer dries out, you pay him with his full labor. And always pay him. Then he says, pay him more than his dues, never less than his dues. If you pay less than the dues, then you will be answerable before your Lord. So what is full dues? Again, that is to be decided. According to the Holy Quran, some principles are laid down, what the word full dues means. And then Islam sees to it that no exploitation is exercised in any sphere of economy. This doing away with interest is one of the very strong measures. Doing away with the cartel system is also another measure. So you can't treat one single item alone without going into the whole setup. So labor is just a part of a system. So not only Islam is very clear on the laborer's rights, but also the very system which it devises is a system of justice and fair play. In that system, the laborer would be very free and happy, and his basic fundamental rights would be guaranteed. Also that of his children. And when Islam says that if somebody has a capability, it is the right of the state to build that capability. Everybody should be treated according to the gifts of Allah to him. That means a poor man's child, if he has capability to rise to a certain degree of attainment of knowledge and he has no means, it would be the responsibility of the state to see to it. So the laborers' children also are guaranteed that if they are intelligent enough and laborious enough and serious enough to rise to a certain station and the poverty stands in their way, then Allah would see to it that the Islamic State helps such children. And despite the fact that we have no government anywhere, we have so much financial responsibility despite our meager sources, the financial burden on Ahmadiyyat is very great. Yet in Rabwa, we have demonstrated this type of Islamic attitude towards the poor, towards the laborer. Nowhere in the world the laborer is paid such attention as it has been paid here, the labor has been paid in Qadian or in Rabwa. It is not only the fair distribution of wealth, it is also the fair treatment, the distribution of honor and honorable treatment for which the human beings vie. If you give somebody a bread and put him to a lower status, sometimes he would throw the bread away and fight for his right to be respected. This is why Marx once quoted here in London, writing to angels, he said that bread is not that man lives for, because then he was there, he felt insulted, and then he thought that all the system which just talks of bread is not enough. There is something like human values, and unless you pay respect to the human values, it is not the bread itself by which you can live. He himself had to admit it. So in a society like Rabwa, you would see laborers who would be invited to the highest society in their parties, in their marriages, who are met in equal terms, who are requested for prayers by some rich people, and many highly placed people try to say Assalamu alaikum to them before they do. They live an honorable life. And also during their marriages and things, very quietly and very honorably, people as well as Jamaat helps them. And their daughters become the daughters of the whole society in this sense. And they also attend their marriages. Some of the children of hard laborers, grave diggers, were educated because they were intelligent and they rose to great heights. They became scientists and got established in some foreign countries. While no other grave digger can be treated like this anywhere in the world. And not only one, every child is a highly respectable member of the society because the whole society paid that respect to that laborer. In Qadian, there used to be what was the name of the one who was called by children Binitori, but by the others he was highly respected. Khudabash, yes. There was a laborer, Khudabash, and the type of labor Islam produces is a very honorable type. He was so fond of saying his prayers in the mosque that he would leave his labor alone and run from the station back to the Masjid Mubarak and say his 5 times prayers there. And the small children used to tease him because he was very much annoyed when somebody called him Bhindi Tori. So he was called Bhindi Tori because he was bandied in legs. Bended legs. So, but that was, children do it to everybody, As far as the grown-ups were concerned, I have seen people, very rich people, bowing before him with respect, offering some gifts to him and requesting him for prayer. He was a highly respectable member of the society. Where can we produce such a laborer in the world?